Good evening, friends. Tonight, the air in the studio feels heavy with the scent of dust and sandalwood. My guest is a man who needs no introduction to anyone who has ever read a newspaper or hummed a marching tune. He is the first Briton to win the Nobel Prize for Literature, the chronicler of the Raj, and the poet of the common soldier. It is my distinct privilege to welcome Mr. Rudyard Kipling.
Good evening, Doctor. A pleasure to be here, though I dare say the pleasure is mostly in being out of the rain. London grey is a different beast from the grey of a monsoon sky, isn't it? It gets into the bones differently. Indeed it does. Indeed it does. We share that particular ghost, you and I, the memory of the Indian sun. I served with the Berkshires in Afghanistan, and the heat of the pass at Maiwand still wakes me up some nights. You were born in Bombay, were you not? And you returned as a journalist. Does the East still call to you? It never stops calling, Doctor. It's in the blood. Bombay was where I was born, but Lahore was where I learned to see. 7 years of 7 years hard, as I call my time in the newspaper trade. You know the smell. Wood smoke, jasmine, and open drains. But you ask if it calls. It does, but it's a siren song. You love it and you hate it in the same breath. It's a land of immense beauty and immense cruelty. A man can lose his soul there, or find it. I suspect you saw a bit of both in Kandahar. More than I care to recount. That brings me to your poetry. You are perhaps the only poet who has ever truly understood the British soldier, Tommy Atkins. Before you, the soldier was often a caricature in literature. You made him flesh and blood. How did a journalist in spectacles come to understand the fighting man so well? By listening, Doctor. Simply listening. The officer class, your class if I may say, often sees the regiment. I looked for the man. I spent my time in the canteens and the smoking rooms, listening to the dialects, Cockney, Irish, Yorkshire. They are the salt of the earth, those men, treated like scum in peacetime and heroes when the drums beat. It's Tommy this and Tommy that, as I wrote. I wanted to show that underneath the red coat and the rough language, there's a man doing a dirty job for an empire that often forgets him. You've patched them up, Watson. You know, they bleed just like the generals. I do indeed. I have held the hands of many a dying fusilier who deserved better than a shallow grave in a foreign field. Now, speaking of foreign fields and strange tales, I must ask about the Jungle Book. It is a masterpiece of imagination, but there is a duality in your work. Mowgli is of the jungle, yet he is a man. Kim is a white boy, yet he is little friend of all the world. Do you feel that duality yourself, caught between the East and the West? We are all half-caste in our souls, aren't we? I was a white boy speaking Hindustani before I spoke English. My ayah told me stories that would make a vicar faint. Then I was shipped back to England, to a house of desolation, to be civilized. I lived in that house for close on 6 years. It belonged to a woman who took in children whose parents were in India. She was married to an old Navy captain who had been a midshipman at Navarino and had afterwards been entangled in a harpoon line while whale fishing and dragged down till he miraculously freed himself. But the line had scarred his ankle for life, a dry black scar, which I used to look at with horrified interest. Anyway, I digress too much, I'm afraid. But the truth is, it tears you apart, Doctor. You see the logic of the West, the railways, the telegraphs, the law, and you admire it. But then you hear the temple bells or see a fakir do something impossible, and the West seems thin. Kim was my attempt to tie those two loose ends together, to show that the great game isn't just about spies and maps, it's about the soul of a country. The great game. My friend Holmes was rather fond of that term, though he laid it in the shadows of London rather than the Grand Trunk Road. You were a warning voice, sir, about the fragility of our civilization. You often write of the law and the chaos that waits outside the circle of light. Do you fear for the future of this empire we've built? I don't fear the enemy at the gate, Doctor. I fear the softness inside the walls. Empires don't die because of barbarians. They die because the people inside forget how to build the walls. We get comfortable. We get complacent. Recessional was a prayer, not a boast, lest we forget. We hold dominion over palm and pine, yes, but only so long as we have the discipline to hold it. If we lose our nerve or our moral compass, the whole thing tumbles down like a house of cards. And the jungle, Doctor,
The jungle is always waiting to let in the jungle. The jungle is always waiting. That is a sentiment that chills me to the bone. Mr. Kipling, our time is nearly spent. You have seen more of the world than most men dream of. If you could leave our listeners, many of whom have never left these shores, with one thought about their duty to the world, what would it be? I would tell them to fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. The world doesn't owe you a living. It's a hard place and it doesn't care if you're a king or a sweeper. Do your work, keep your word, and for God's sake, don't look for a reward. The work is the reward. A stoic philosophy for a tumultuous age. Mr. Kipling, it has been an education and an honor. Thank you for sharing your fire with us tonight. Thank you, Doctor, and give my regards to Mr. Holmes. I always suspected he had a bit of the great game in him. A remarkable man with a gaze as sharp as a bayonet. He reminds us that civilization is a fragile thing, maintained only by the effort of those willing to stand on the wall. Thank you for listening, friends. Until next week, this is Dr. John Watson, signing off.